Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod. I am your host, Gary, and this is the podcast where every other week I take a look at what's going on in my world of G.I. Joe, and then look at some stuff and close out with a review of a vehicle or playset or something like that. This week, I am podcasting on the frozen tundra again, and this time somewhere in northern Canada. Backstop is with me, and he's just hanging out because he knows where to get all the good poutine.
If anyone can stop Joe, it's Zartan!
And it's really in celebration of I got the PulseCon exclusive Zartan, who's also been available at GameStop in Canada for some time. I was really excited to get him in the mail. I guess we'll just lead off with that. So Zartan comes in this beautiful packaging, and one thing you got to admit about this era of toy collecting is that this is the packaging engineer / packaging designer's dream, where people appreciate the package as much, or at least almost as much, as the item inside. But I opened my stuff and Zartan came out. Let's take a look at classified number 31 Zartan. And just as a point of comparison, I have number 23 Zartan with me too. So this way, a little bit easier if you haven't gotten yourself the new one, if you're still waiting for the prices on eBay and Mercari to drop on the secondary market. But I will say this, as soon as I got him, I opened up the box. I took him out and I threw him in the freezer because of what's going on social media. You see him turning blue. It was like, how do you not take advantage of that color change feature? Something that some of us were misled to believe with the ad copy for the original 23 Zartan. To start, the molds on both Zartans are basically exactly the same. The vests are the same. The wrist gauntlets are the same. The gloves look to be the same. You know, the belt, the waist, everything is reused on 31 from 23. Let's take a look at his belt. On mine, it looks like the knife sheath on the belt has a little touch of plastic or matting on number 23, the original Zartan. The number 31 Zartan looks like it's just molded all in black plastic, and that's fine by me, or black hard rubber. However, the belt on his brown pants, which are a much more version 1-esque pant than the darker shade on number 23, the belt has a lot more paint apps. The black accents for the belt under the brown loops on the pants, that's real attention to detail, with a silver belt buckle with the dreadnought symbol. And then it goes down to the legs. The thigh pads now are painted silver with black trim. And then the knee pads and the boots are black. However, the new 31 color changing Zartan is more of a matte finish all over. Now in the chest, his vest, or in motorcycle circles would sometimes be called a roost protector, has the same silver accents that are also available on the thigh pads, and it makes the lines on it pop more than just the different shade or different texture or sheen of black on original Zartan. And then finally, you have the wrist gauntlets, which are also, again, silver paint apps. And overall, the silver paint apps look really good with the new Zartan, but they're more aesthetically pleasing because his skin gets darker, so that silver really allows him to pop if he's, let's say, in a shadow. So he doesn't disappear. If you really want that disappearance, when he goes, that shade of dark blue, once you leave him in the freezer for 5 to 10 minutes or so, maybe it's a chance to try to swap the vest. My initial impression is, other than popping the arms out, I don't know how I'm going to swap the vest other than cutting them, and I'm not somebody that generally is going to do that. However, it is really cool that you have a little bit of a change up on it, and it does feel like more work went into new Zartan than the old Zartan, so it didn't feel like it was such a waste of money. Now we'll go on to his accessories. So in essence, the only accessories that weren't carried over from the original Zartan to the number 31 Zartan was, as I expected from the previous episode where I reviewed the PulseCon, was the monkey paw and the snake head, like totems that would hang from his backpack, are missing. If you want, take those off your number 23 and just add them to your number 31. I don't see much parts changing between the two because it doesn't seem to be, at least the way I collect, doesn't seem necessary. But I would steal those two, and I'll display that with my 6-inch Zartan. The cowl, Zartan's cowl, is the same bright brown, or a very similar bright brown. So it's a little bit of a different shade than his legs, but it's brighter again than the original 23 Zartan. Then you dive into everything else. So he comes with a pretty awesome sniper rifle. It has a nice flexible plastic strap. It has a dark brown painted pistol grip on it. Bipod, which is larger than most G.I. Joe bipods, so I'm not as worried about losing it. He has his scarf, same shade as his cowl. He has a recurve bow, and then he has, the quiver with the Rashikage symbol, which I'm still not a huge fan of. But then we got his masks, and he has the hard master mask, he has the soft master mask, he has his original style mask with the mustache and the soul patch, and then he has this really awesome badass skull mask. I love it. It's just crazy how detailed it is. It has these little optics in the eye sockets, which gives it a little ghostly high-tech look. It really fits Zartan well. It really fits the whole figure well. I really love that skull almost as much as I love the hard master and soft master masks. And it also comes with repurposed heads for Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. And the Snake Eyes mask has a nice duller dark gray night visor on it that is welcome. Maybe I would swap that with one of Snake Eyes' heads. Don't know, but it's cool that it's there, and I just like the different shade of silver on Snake Eyes' head, because if I don't put it on Zartan's body, I'm going to put it on Snake Eyes' head. He has the same pistol, knife, and backpack. So overall, if you only get one Zartan, I hope the 31 becomes more widely available for everybody. It is so much worth it. It is totally more in line with what we got originally in 1984. Maybe the next Zartan we get will be the Ninja Force Zartan with the Mohawk, and you can have a little more orange and green in your life. Moving into other things I've been doing news, I've been patiently waiting for the Roboskull Kickstarter by Skeletron to close out. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably familiar with Roboskull from the Kickstarter and or the Action Force toy line. The cool thing that this is the last week for the Roboskull was Bob Recklin, who did the original design for the Roboskull. he was asked back to redesign it as part of this Kickstarter, and oh my gosh, this thing is knocked out of the park. It's bigger, it's badder. It fits 4 different scales of action figures. It fits 1-inch scale in the eye sockets, and then it fits, 2 O-ring style or 2 4-inch modern style, and even a 6-inch in the pilot this thing. It's absolutely crazy. I went all in, and right now I'm happy with that decision because I'm still fiddling around with the 6-inch line. I still want those 3 3/4 O-ring figures that are from the Call Sign Longbow guys who are launching their own Kickstarter hopefully soon. I'm really excited to see what they're offering with that. I think it is big enough and awesome enough to be its own piece, but also as I work in the next couple of weeks down here in my pit, in my basement, cleaning up this mess, is when I get my flag set up. I think it will look really cool somewhere in that vicinity. I do have a spot in my display cabinet area that I built after I finished painting it. I have some place I can put some LED lighting, I believe, and really give it its own spot as well, because this thing's big and I can take it out and put it on the flag, and it's really cool to have some options floating around in my head on this thing and how it's going to go. And I'm looking forward to that closing out, and then my credit card getting massively charged on the all-in pledge. So I am looking forward to that. It's just beautiful. It's red. It's badass. Can't wait. The other week, Steve over at G.I. Joeberg challenged the G.I. Joe podcasts to talk about playing with their figures. Now, I did mention I did play a little bit with the brand new Zartan, throwing him in the freezer, getting him blue, playing around with him, making pew-pew noises. But really, for the past couple of weeks, I have my little 3 3/4 diorama that I keep up on my dresser in my bedroom. It's just a nice area. I pick things up, put things down. I go in the basement and says, "Oh, I got an idea." I pull a different figure out of the cases, and I says, "Okay," and I display them different ways. Now, for a while, I've had this really funny scenario that I want to turn into a play motion with 3 yellow G.I. Joe characters, and every so often they move around. It's between Scoop, Airtight, and Lightfoot, and those guys are still up there, and they're still hanging out. They're still talking about what they're trying to do. And I do have a hopefully fun idea for those 3 guys for an adventure those guys can go on. I'm still fleshing it out. I know where I need to start, and I know where I need to end. It's just the whole middle part of that adventure I got to fill in. But in the meantime, I do have my Outpost Defender and the Watchtower. They're sitting there. And right now the Watchtower is manned by Dusty. And Dusty's just hanging out for the most part. And it's 91 Dusty. Such an underrated figure. But his partner right now in crime is 1993 Duke version 4 with the 1992 Duke head swapped on with the helmet. He's kitted out with an accessory pack Duke backpack, the dark brown version, and he has a spare machine gun from Crazy Legs, minus the stock, because I had the spare machine gun, but not the spare stock. He's been my foot soldier. He's been running around a little bit up there, trying to nab the bad guys. Not so many bad guys up there right now, other than this guy TARGAT that I've really been playing with lately. And I know I mentioned maybe a little bit in passing, what he's doing. So I got him, and it's like, so I'm thinking about how does the TARGAT work in G.I. Joe? And right now, the best way I can think about TARGAT, as I, flip his wings, his backpack wings in and out, is I think he's kind of like Destro's Halo Trooper. So imagine Ripcord, but instead of Ripcord parachuting out from a high altitude, imagine Ripcord in, let's say, a flying suit. Well, that's kind of what the Target is, because he's got this little jetpack. I think of him dive bombing from above, and how would he get to his target? So, is he a suborbital guy? Is he hanging out in his space station? And I know Destro's all about the profits, right? So would Destro invest that much money in an orbital Iron Grenadier station? I don't know. Where's the money in that? Now, if the Iron Grenadiers are essentially mercenaries or a private security firm, so Destro has them all on ready, and then he basically, you contract Destro. You say, hey, Destro, I need to employ a staging action in the Middle East. You go to Destro, you sign a few contracts, you hand him over a Louis Vuitton suitcase full of cash, and then he gives you his troops to command. And I don't think Destro's like that. I think Destro's all about the almighty dollar. He's an arms dealer, but I don't think he loans out or he rents out his private army. So I don't think he's going to have in his private army orbiting the Earth. I don't think that makes good sense, business sense for him. It'd be very expensive. I'm thinking the Targats is Destro and his private army probably has a couple high flyers. He probably has a transport plane and, flies it up near 65,000 feet, 70,000 feet, like at YouTube. That's pushing it, but probably somewhere above 50,000 feet. And then these guys just jump out, and they don't have parachutes. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely bonkers. But I really think that's where Destro's going with this. So if Target's doing that, he's got that gold that rubs off with, if you just breathe on it, goggle. So you put down his visor all the time. He can get some high flying, and it's actually pretty also with that guy who did the Red Bull challenge, who broke the speed of sound skydiving. I don't think the Targets are too far off. I don't think they're too sci-fi yet anymore. I think they're there. They're awesome. And I love this little guy. And I don't know why he'd be attacking my outpost defender, but he has a couple times. I don't know what his objective is. Not a clue. But Dusty and Duke have tangled with him a couple times. And then he goes back. I haven't really played too much this week. Not as much as I wanted to, especially after I heard that. Because I pissed my wife off and I bought more Joes. I bought about 80 G.I. Joe figures from a lot. I paid way too much for them, not even going to lie. Way what I felt was more than market value on it. But I got them because it was just kicking my OCD that the guy had 4 different lots and all the pieces were spread out. They were all mismatched. I was like, I just want to buy them all. Name your price. This is really going to bug me otherwise. I did. I went through them all. I added probably about 25 figures to my collection. 5 of them were I've never had them before. And the other 20 were not army builders. There's just, I want to have an extra figure for that rare occasion that a thumb breaks or something goes wrong, or just to have something a little less than perfect to play with. And I've been working on that. And then my wife drops the bombshell that she's trying to change jobs, which means that's going to affect us a little bit. And I made the promise that no more. There's no room in the budget anymore. I did have fun changing O-rings. It was a good week, but now I have too much stuff, and the law has been laid down, and eBay has been my friend for the past couple of days. Really, other than the new issue of G.I. Joe coming out this week, I don't really have too much news to report, other than that's what I've been doing with Zartan and the Target, and I did get the barbecue, and barbecue's awesome. He has been displayed on my shelves. He's upstairs right now by my bureau with my other 6-inch action figures from my Marvel Legends line and stuff. He's just hanging out there because for me, barbecue is Christmas 1985 for me. And I have several barbecues, and they're downstairs for whatever reason. But barbecue's upstairs now in 6-inch form, and he's fighting something, but he's just looking cool right now. Happy to have barbecue as well. As I said earlier in the podcast, we're up here in Canada. In Canada, there's a lot of snow, and it's November, so those ice road truckers are going to be moving along soon. But what do you need this Jovember for the snow? I'm going to go with the Snow Cat. The Snow Cat is a half-track vehicle from 1985, and it is iconic because of its ubiquitousness in the cartoon series. It was featured several times in the comic book, and there's plenty of them around, and they're super fragile. So let's dive in and take a deeper look. So to start off with, we have the driver Frostbite. Now, Frostbite is a great general winter troop, and the mold is a good choice to complement the Snow Cat. He's essentially molded in white. He has a blue wolf type insignia on the right shoulder, and he has pockets on the lower sleeves. He's got a pistol over his left breast, and that covers pockets on the chest. He's got a nice fur lining on top of his coat, and black beard. He's got goggles and a wool hat. The figure is a little svelte. It's not really a big puffy figure like winter clothes generally can be, but it's a nice sculpt. It is filled with little details here and there. It makes it really pop. Because he seems to be relatively common, a good choice for head swaps to make your winter team when you're going on adventures in the snow. He comes with an M16 rifle with a starlight scope, or as I like to call it, Stalker's machine gun. That's because of issue 26. Stalker can be seen carrying essentially the same rifle. And I have used with my comic pack Stalker this rifle. So it's actually kind of oversized as compared to, let's say, Grunt's M16 from 3 years earlier. It does fit kind of awkward in the cockpit of the Snow Cat because it kind of has to ride, pardon the term, shotgun while Frostbite is driving. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the Snow Cat. So the Snow Cat's a half-track. They're kind of a mixed breed. They steer like a car, but they can handle rough terrain like a tank. That's really basically it. Basically the summary you can get off of Wikipedia. The big thing with any Snow Cat is the missile rack has 4 tiny pins that provide a friction fit to swivel up and down on the turret, which can rotate left and right and all around 360 degrees. And those pins are just so tiny, they're very commonly broken. It's very easy to find a Snow Cat complete with a broken pin at a very affordable price. The other thing about the Snow Cat for, let's say, hard to find pieces is the steering wheel, which pops in and out. And I have always found it easier to pop the steering wheel out to place Frostbite in, and then pop the steering wheel back in. And then also, you have the windshield wiper on the top of the canopy glass, which is also common to pop in and out. And those two things can be commonly missing. The other thing, too, about the windshield wiper, it's very common for the windshield wiper from play to actually scratch the clear canopy. Just something to be aware of when you're looking for one of these. You have a nice engine cover in the back. And the cool thing is, because of the construction of when you build, if you ever were lucky enough to build a Snow Cat, or you can buy one of the modern versions. The white body on the Snow Cat is on top of a black chassis, and that black chassis has a molded engine compartment, so that pops when you pull the white engine cover off, which is right underneath the missile rack. The missiles are yellow, and then it's also with 2 snow skipedos, which are yellow with a black ski that flank it left and right. The Snow Cat fits 2 characters in the cockpit, and the Snow Cat has 8 foot pegs, 3 on each side and 2 in the back. It has a tow hook for dragging your HAL or your other towable feature like a road toad into battle. And surprisingly well rounded. You got the handlebars in the back. The missiles are blocked in the missile rack, so this way, if your characters were standing on the back of the Snow Cat getting transported, they're not going to get hit with the backblast from the missile. Look at that. G.I. Joe taking care of their soldiers. Also, with the Snow Cat is you have this little clear plastic behind the canopy for like a light, almost looks like a light bar. Now, I have one from another guy's childhood collection. He broke it out and he actually tried to put LEDs with a little 9-volt battery. Not actually a poor idea. It's actually a pretty neat idea. It just wasn't realized properly by the guy who must have been maybe 7 or 8 when he had the toy new. Overall, it's angular construction. It would be also known in some reissues as a Havoc when painted in green. But I like the angularity on this. It's not as future-reaching as Battle Force 2000. It's still a forward-thinking idea with the angularness of the canopy, but it also, the angles make it look more tank-like a modern tank, rather than something space age like Battle Force 2000. The underside of the Snow Cat isn't as clean as some of the other vehicles in the line, like let's say a Mobat or a Mauler. You're not really looking too many times underneath this. If you're going under the model type quality of G.I. Joes from the early portion of the line, that isn't quite there. It does have a nice little skirt on the bottom that does prevent you from looking underneath, so it doesn't become an issue. So you have the white hubcaps for the wheels, and you have the black treads on the back, which are just molded plastic with 2 little wheels hidden behind them. So this way it raises it up so you can roll on your hard surface or soft surface, maybe if you're on a rug. Because of the pins, it's a fragile vehicle. It is definitely one of the higher tier vehicles for the G.I. Joe line, even though it is a winter operations vehicle. It has a place in most every person's G.I. Joe collection. I have 2 unbroken ones, and I have a third one that's just missing a fender flare on it for whatever reason. I don't know why I lost one, but I did. And when the snow comes out, these guys go out, and they'll be on patrol, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, as a side note, this was released in 1988 as part of the Tiger Force, and poor Frostbite got the Tiger Force treatment. You're not really going to be driving around in the snow in a yellow vehicle with a Tiger paint job, but it's a half track, so half tracks can go anywhere. In World War II, they saw extensive action in Northern Africa. So the half-track does have a place in G.I. Joe. It does have a place in different environments. So when it gets re-released in green, it's a jungle vehicle. They have a place in military history. They have a place in G.I. Joe. That's why the Snow Cat and its iterations belong. Now, poor Frostbite, dressed in Tiger Force colors in a half-track in the middle of, let's say, Northern Africa, that might not be a good idea. But hey, you can always take your Tiger Force Frostbite and throw him in the Snow Cat. that's really it. Just a quick look at the Snow Cat today with Frostbite. We got to look at, what I'm doing in G.I. Joe and, a little playful review with Zartan. So if you liked what you listened to, you can leave a review on wherever you heard this podcast or in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. I know I'm a week behind, but it should be caught up by the time this thing goes up. You can rate the podcast. You can listen to the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Anchor FM, our host, and Spotify. And don't forget, the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod is the strange, but not estranged, little brother of the Pina Comics podcasting network. So I'm ready to head out of Canada in my Snow Cat, chasing after Zartan with my poutine, which I do enjoy eating. It is a delicious treat. And with that, there are more missiles to be delivered to the masses. See ya!